I thought I had did this video already, but apparently I did not. I thought we had a video about reconnaissance, about information gathering, but it was only the 5 stages of ethical hacking slash penetration testing. So I decided we're going to do it today. I don't want anybody to be left behind. Somebody asked me the other day, what exactly is reconnaissance? What's the purpose of it? And I thought that I had, and I said, you know what? I have a video about it, but I don't. I just had the general overview about the 5 stages. So today we're going to dedicate some time to get a better understanding of what reconnaissance is, information gathering. That is the plan. So welcome to another episode of Software Explorations, Concept and Overviews, hosted by your truly Tech Coach Ralph, where we're Engineer Twin. Like I said, today's video, we're going to do a deep dive into reconnaissance, the very first stage of ethical hacking slash penetration testing. With that being said, let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into it. All right. So reconnaissance, understanding how hackers gather intelligence. Like everything is about intelligence, right? Right now, the Senate is going through a confirmation hearing. They are engulfed in a bunch of questions back and forth about intelligence, the director of national intelligence, all that good stuff. So, which all of that is related to reconnaissance about how people gather information. So we're going to dive deep into it today. Starting with our agenda, we're going to be going through our introduction to ethical hacking and reconnaissance. What exactly is reconnaissance? What is passive reconnaissance? What is active reconnaissance? What are the tools used for information gathering, for intelligence gathering? Actual information gathering. Real world examples. We're going to have one real world example. We're going to talk about the legal and ethical considerations when it comes to reconnaissance. And we're going to talk about the defensive measures that companies can take against recon being done against something. We're going to wrap it up with our conclusion. All right. So let's jump into it. So what is ethical hacking? By this point, we should know, but for if anybody's coming in new, ethical hacking is the legal way of a person testing out a company's security measures to see if they have any loopholes, if there's any open ways to get into the company, to their application, to their software, to do harm, right? The ethical hacker is not necessarily going to do harm, but they're going to provide a report like, hey, look, these are the flaws that are in your system, and you need to tighten that up, right? So that's basically, in a nutshell, what ethical hacking is. We do have a full video on ethical hacking and breaking all of that down. We have a video on the 5 stages of ethical hacking as well. So you definitely want to check that out, right? And that also defines the importance of ethical hacking because if we do not have that, then anybody can just go and infiltrate your system, and you do not want that, right? And real quick, the 5 phases of ethical hacking: we have reconnaissance, where we're information gathering; we have scanning, where we're looking for entry; we have actually gaining access into the application or to the company or the system; then we have a way to maintain access to make sure we don't get caught and booted out; and then lastly, we have to clear our tracks because we do not want them knowing that it was us. Now, that the clearing tracks part, it's good because you're showing the company that this is what can happen to you, but you're also reporting it so they know, and you're letting them know that you're in their system. All right, let's keep going. So what is reconnaissance in particular, right? So reconnaissance is the process of gathering information about a target system. You lock in on a target, and now you start gathering information about them. The purpose is to identify weaknesses before attempting an attack. So before you try to, you have to study your opponent. You have to get all the information, right? There's two types of reconnaissance. There's active reconnaissance and there's passive reconnaissance. We're gonna jump into both of those. So what is passive reconnaissance? It's gathering information without directly engaging with the target. So it's like you're watching, you're snooping, you're on a stakeout, things like that, and you're not going. It's like you might be looking through a window, but you're not knocking at the door and trying to gather information that way, right? What are some common techniques for passive reconnaissance? We have the OSINT, open source intelligence. We have the Who is lookup. We did that the other day on a live stream using the Who is lookup on our Kali Linux. We have social media footprinting, and we have Google dorking. I am not familiar with Google dorking, so we'll probably check that out on the live stream. That's going to be coming up tomorrow night if you're watching this video on the Wednesday release. But we're going to do that because I am not familiar with that at all, but let's keep going. Now, active reconnaissance. Active reconnaissance is, if passive is indirectly, so active is direct interaction with the target to collect information. Some common techniques is port scanning through tools like Nmap, network mapping, banner grabbing, and email footprinting. So what are some tools used in reconnaissance? And I I don't know much about many of these tools, but for passive reconnaissance, we have Maltego, we have Google Hacking, we have Shodan, and we have Who is Lookup. I know Who is Lookup. I'm not familiar with Google Hacking. I'm not familiar with Maltego. I'm not familiar with Shodan. But guess what that means? That just means that we have to explore it on a live stream, on an upcoming live streams, and that's what we're gonna do. And then we also have the active tools like Nmap. We have Metasploit. We have Recon NG. I've heard of Nmap. I've heard of Metasploit. I'm not sure if I've heard of Recon NG, but I am not familiar with exactly what they do. So we're going to be definitely investigating that once we get to that phase. All right. So gathered information. What type of information do you gather during doing active reconnaissance, right? Or doing not even active when doing reconnaissance? What kind of information do you gather? You can gather the domain name. You can gather the IP address. If you remember on the live stream, we were doing NS lookup. We were doing pinging. We even tried a trace route. We did the who is lookup. All of that, right? You can get information about subdomains and DNS records. That's the DNS records is through the who is not the who. Well, you can get it through the who is. You can get it through the NS lookup. You can get it through the ping. Open ports and services. That part is more on the active reconnaissance phase when you're getting like you're scanning the ports to see what's open. How can you get in? Employee names and email addresses. There's many ways you can get that through email scanning, also through doing reconnaissance on social media platforms like LinkedIn, for example, right? And then there's website technology stack, which you can use certain tools to see what a website is built off of. I think on our next live stream we're going to be investigating that to see passing some websites through that to see what technology that they use. All right. So what is a real world example of reconnaissance being used? All right. So in 2013, Target Corporation, you guys know Target, suffered a massive data breach that exposed credit and debit cards details of over 40 million people. Can you believe that? That is crazy. That is crazy, right? The attackers infiltrated Target's network using reconnaissance techniques before executing their attack, right? They had to find this information out somehow in order to get in. So what type of passive reconnaissance was used on Target, right? So they used the OSINT open source intelligence to gather data about Target's vendors and supply chain. They found that Fazio Mechanical Services, a third-party HVAC vendor, yes, the HVAC vendor, had remote access to Target's network. Why would the HVAC vendor need to have access to Target's network? That's kind of weird, right? They also gathered email addresses and internal business relationships from LinkedIn, social media, and company websites. Now, the active reconnaissance that was used, the attacker sent phishing emails to Fazio's mechanical services employees, tricking them into downloading malware. The malware captured login credentials used by the HVAC company to access Target's internal systems. That is absolutely crazy. I don't understand why HVAC company has access to Target systems, right? But that's a whole nother story. Once inside, attackers scanned the network using tools similar to Nmap to map out payment systems and databases. My goodness, that is crazy. Oh my gosh. All right, what else? So, exploitation. With stolen credentials, attackers move laterally through Target's network. They installed memory scraping malware on point of sale, POS. So, point of sale is like when you go to checkout, those systems, which extracted customer credit card data in real time. Oof. The stolen data was exfiltrated to external servers before being sold on the dark web. Talk about a hard day, right? Talk about a hard day. Now, what lessons were learned through this, right? So reconnaissance is a critical phase of hacking. Attackers successfully identified and exploited weak links. Third-party vendors can be security risk. Target's own systems weren't initially compromised, but a vendor's weak security led to the breach. And I can't even imagine how many times on the bug bite that we have reviewed how companies were infiltrated because of their vendors were not properly secure. You got to be careful with your vendors, right? Defensive measures against reconnaissance are crucial. Had Target implemented stronger network segmentation and multi-factor authentication, reconnaissance efforts could have been thwarted. And that's how everything is connected, because to implement that multi-network segmentation, it would require a strong networking person to divvy up the subnets and say, all right, this is the IT subnet, this is the HR subnet, this is and try to limit the blast radius, all right? So, what are some legal and ethical considerations when it comes to ethical hacking and especially for reconnaissance, right? So, laws governing reconnaissance activities. So that's one. You gotta make sure you're following the laws, the regulations, all that. Difference between ethical and malicious reconnaissance, because guess what? There are definitely malicious actors out there. You should, if you're interested in doing some ethical hacking and some reconnaissance, you should definitely sign up for a bug bite. Not a bug bite, not a bug bite, for a bug bounty and get some experience through there. And then the best practice for for legal information gathering. So you should always consult with your company's legal, or with a lawyer if you're not working for a company. Let's say you're just doing some bug bounties. Figure out the best legal practices and make sure you're not indirectly committing some crimes which you could be held liable for. So, what are some defensive measures that a company can take against reconnaissance being done against them, right? So defensive measures, regular security audits. So make sure that your audits are happening. You're seeing who's trying to get into your system. I don't know how often you should do it, but you should definitely see what's coming in and what's coming out. Having network segmentation, so separating your network in a way that it, like I said earlier, it reduces the blast radius if somebody gets in. If they get in, they can only access a certain subnet, and they might get access to like maybe 10 or 15 computers, but not the whole entire 1,000 computer network, right? Uh, Installing some detection systems, IDS, so that you can see you can have an intruder alert, and reducing your digital footprint, right? So those are the defensive measures that we can take when it comes to reconnaissance. So that is it for today. Let's wrap it up with our conclusion. We went through our introduction on what is ethical hacking, what is reconnaissance. We spoke about passive reconnaissance. We spoke about active reconnaissance, the difference between the two. We spoke about the tools that are used for reconnaissance, the information that is gathered during the reconnaissance phase. We looked over a real world example that happened to Target in 2013. We spoke about the legal and ethical considerations when it comes to reconnaissance. We spoke about how to protect yourself from reconnaissance being done against you and your company. So with that being said, if you have any thoughts, if you have any feedback, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop me a comment and I'll be more than happy to answer you, or even make a full video about it, answering your questions and incorporating your feedback into all of that. All right. But with that being said, we're going to go back to full screen. All right. So there you have it. That is reconnaissance. Like I said, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if this was helpful, if this added value into your life. Let me know if you're learning ethical hacking and if this type of stuff interests you. I am very interested in it. It's like I'm using a bunch of tools that I've used a long time ago, mixing with some new tools and some new strategies. So I'm totally excited about it. Let me know your thoughts. Are you going to join me tomorrow night on the live stream as we continue working on the tools for reconnaissance and all that good stuff? All right. But that is it for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Do me a favor on your way out. A couple of announcements. Do me a favor. If you haven't done so already, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know every time we go live and drop new content. Also, go over to techcoachralph.dev. You can sign up for exclusive content. You're not going to find any type of content like this over on the internet. I break it down how to level up in tech, how to level up your mindset. That's something I'm thinking about doing, where I'm like, all right, before we can start coaching on this tech stuff, we need to start coaching on this mentality stuff, because a lot of times our mentality is shot. We do not work the way that we should work, and that's why we do not get the results that we want to get, right? So I'm working on that. I'm thinking about that. Lastly, the Abandoned album is dropping next Friday, February 14th, 2025, on Valentine's Day. You can pre-save it to your Spotify. So as soon as it hits midnight on February 14th, you will be able to listen to, this has to be my favorite album of all time, I must say. It has to be my favorite album of all time. Hopefully you enjoy it. I look forward to having a listening session with you. But that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is Head Coach Ralph. We are out.
Goodbye, crabs in the barrel, no more dragging me low. Turn my back on the sorrow, watch how strong I'll grow. I'm waving from the shoreline as I head for the sun. Life is calling me forward, now the journey's begun. Thanks so much, but it's time to say goodbye. web of lies, chasing shadows in disguise. Thought they had my back for sure, realized there one more. Walking away from shadows past me I've outgrown. They clung to my dreams while they polished their own stone. Thought they had my back, but they were pulling me down. Goodbye to the crabs, I'm leaving this tired town. Pulling me down deep below. In a barrel anger grows, crabs in corners seeking light, only find the darkest night. They laughed while I stumbled, fed doubts to my mind. Mirror reflected faces of a different kind. Chains made of whispers didn't let me fly free. Now I'm breaking loose, leaving shells in the sea. Goodbye crabs, I'm walking free, 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 free. Done with all your misery. I'm so done, I'm so done. Watching dreams fade one by one, fading one by one. I won't stop till I'm gone, till I'm gone. Climbing out of pits of doubt, turn my back, no looking out. Past the sorrow, past the pain, leave your echoes in the rain. Every step I take now feels light on my feet. No more anchors pulling me down to deceit. Echoes of freedom in the beat of my heart. From the weight of the past I am ready to part. Thanks so much, but it's time to say goodbye. Goodbye, bye, bye. Goodbye, bye, bye, bye. I've gotta go and live my life. Live, live, live. The path ahead is lonely, but my spirit's alive. No more shadows around me, no more tales to contrive. Rising above from the deep darkest blue. Farewell to the crabs, I've got new skies to view.